Hey, welcome to Artists and Authors. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is Wayland Jackson. And Wayland, you are an author. At least that's the rumor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here. Before we get into the books that you brought today, why don't you give me a little bit of background, how you got into making a choice to write these books?
It was almost an accident. I didn't start writing until I was 80. I've been retired many years. I did a lot of activities because I'm a doer. I'm a joiner and that kind of person. And I saw an ad for a critique group here in Fresno. And I went. There were only 2 or 3 people there. It had once been a large group. It almost died.
Yeah.
And I've been going to that for about 8 years now. And it's quite good. Very helpful.
And by 80, you finally figured out what it was you wanted to do with your life, huh?
Oh, no. I've always done what I wanted to do.
So you joined this critique group,
yes.
And through that you started writing.
Yes. Well, the way the group works, it was very helpful. I write a story or a poem.
Right.
I email it to all the group. They read it at home. And when we get to our meeting, which is twice a month, a couple of hours at the library,
right,
all we do is critique. We don't do any reading there. And so when you have 5 or 6 or 7, 8 people critiquing your piece, you get a lot of good opinions, good criticism. And you can go home and work on it and sharpen it up. And that's what I did to the stories in here. They've all been through this critique.
Okay, now this book is entitled Frog Legs.
Yes.
Stories, Memoirs, and Essays.
Yes.
Yeah. So I take it this is a little bit about you and your life experience?
There's some stories in there that one is about the first funeral I conducted when I was about 6, called A Time to Weep.
Yeah.
And there are stories about my personal life journey, my faith journey. And there are stories about experience I had in teaching school. I taught English as a second language when the Hmong people were flooding into Fresno back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And Frog Legs is a story about one of the Hmong boys, Chia.
Yeah?
Chia Cha. Chia's a turkey farmer in Missouri now.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
So he came to California, talked to Oklahoma, and went to Missouri, huh?
Yes. What tricks fate plays on
There you go. So, Wayland, you said include some of your faith story. Why don't we talk about that a minute before we go forward? You know, you said you did your first funeral at age 6.
Yeah, I did.
But what is your journey, your spiritual journey, your faith journey?
Well, it's hard to put it in a sentence.
Okay.
Because there are 4 essays in here which are religious in nature. One is called Me and the Good Book, which is my journey with the Bible and how I view the Bible. One is my own personal, I guess I don't like the word spiritual, but it's a spiritual experience called When God Disappeared. Another is just my faith journey, which talks about when I was a child, when I became a believer, and how that developed and changed over the years. And it's very hard to put it into one sentence.
So it's kind of your testimony, basically.
It is, yes, it is, definitely.
And you've chosen to share that in the book. I would imagine that part of the thought behind that is not just sharing it, but maybe inspiring other people.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
My view about the Bible is the one reason it's so powerful is because every story in there is a different story. You don't get any cookie-cutter religion from the Bible.
That's true.
It's very personal. And so my experience is personal. Yours is personal. The people who are viewing this, they also have personal experiences. And from my viewpoint, if this is a place where you have touched God, that's okay with me.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're standing on your head when you did it. It's just fine with me.
Yeah. So you've included that. Frog Legs is about a young man from
Chia Cha. He's a Hmong boy.
And now, how long has this book been in print?
Just months.
Just months?
Yes. Both of these I published this year.
Oh, you just published them?
Yeah.
So they're new?
They're fresh.
How exciting is that? That's great. But you were telling me before we went on camera that sales have been pretty good.
They have been very good. These are printed privately. I did it myself.
Right.
And this book was printed by the Pegasus Press here in Fresno, who does Armin Bacon's books.
Yes.
Anyhow, if you buy a book, you have to buy it from me personally. You can't get it in the bookstore. That's why I have my email address.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
How they can get that. This second book is also self-published,
yes.
and it says, "Do not marry for love." All right, you got my interest up. Tell me about this.
Well, both these books are named for something inside.
Okay.
This one is named for one of the poems, which I wrote in honor of my wife. We were married 62 years when she died, and people say, "How did you have such a happy marriage for so long?" Because it was a wonderful, wonderful journey. I tell them, well, read the poem, and I especially advise young people who are not yet married to read this, because it sort of tries to capture my philosophy that my own personal viewpoint is the word love should be taken out of the marriage vows.
Okay.
And it should be replaced with the word commitment. I commit myself to you, high water or hell.
There you go.
And I hope you commit yourself to me. And because the popular idea of marriage is something you see from Hollywood,
Yes, it is.
like a bowl of mush. And I think that when two people commit their lives to each other, that should be forever. So if people make that commitment, what I think of as real love, it comes.
It comes, yeah.
And so that's...
And I get that, Wayland.
Okay.
That's good. So, I get that, but how do we get, you left me here, and we've got it up on the screen, but it's WaylandJackson.com.
Yes.
If I go there, I'm going to find these books for sale.
You'll find everything in these books there, and you'll find the books as well. So you can read them free if you want to.
Oh.
But if you want to buy them, have them in a book form. You can.
WaylandJackson.com.
That's it.
Now, do you have a Facebook page or any of the?
No, just this website. The website, yeah.
Yeah, I know how that is. All right. Well, Wayland, it sounds like besides just something that you did, to use the word love, this has been a process of love, hasn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sharing these thoughts with people. And it's our society today, Wayland, doesn't look sometimes as importantly to our older generation, and I include I've kind of reached that point myself, because there's a lot of wisdom that you've picked up over the years that you've lived, and taken
accidentally
or otherwise, Smart has nothing to do with it. You've traveled the roads, and that you've shared your information and your viewpoints on that it's a powerful gift to someone that'll bother to take the time to read it. And I appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you very much.
A couple of good books. Do Not Marry for Love and Frog Legs. And Wayland, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Come back again, my friend. All right, take care. And we'll see you when we come back.
CentralValleyTalk.com